When I was little, I lived somewhere that was kind of like a community.
Yeah, community is one of those words that, I mean, everyone's in a community of something, and it's overused and I would argue misused.
What I mean is that I lived in a physical neighborhood.
I feel like I would define community as a group of people that you are simultaneously accountable for and also receive support from.
Where my family had relationships with people who lived on our street and in the rest of that area.
And people you know, people who live on your street, people who you see every day, that's your community.
Relationships with people around you, so you actually kind of build this life together.
One of the things that was nice about the drive for me is that a lot of my identities overlap there. I'm working class. It used to be a working class neighborhood. I am a lesbian. It was the lesbian neighborhood.
Doesn't mean that I don't have a community of peers that I do maybe my writing with or other work with. That's real. But the community I'm interested in and interested in working with is people who are located near and by me, who our lives are affected by our environment, and we work together.
A lot of people, when they speak of community, they speak of the humans that surround them, but I believe more in everything that's going to be around us.
Not a community in the sense of having a generational connection to the land we lived on.
It's harder to experience and understand that aspect of community in cities.
As a settler, living on unceded Coast Salish territory, that's something I will never have. When I was 8, my family moved away. I moved back when I was 14. I moved into the same neighborhood I'd lived in before. There were still a lot of the same people and feelings in the neighborhood, but some things had changed. This was when I first heard the word gentrification.
I think that gentrification is creating wealth by isolating and then displacing people through the purchase of property and the redevelopment of property.
Gentrification would be the movement of people that would be described as the haves into areas that that could be described as the areas of have-nots.
Developing it and pricing out the people who lived there before.
There's ways in which it isn't just a purchase, because there are things that are bought that the people who build things are not compensated for. So there's ways in which I think it is theft as well. Higher walls and higher fences to keep people out of places.
Okay.
Areas are going to go through periods of development and improvement, and then there's going to be times when areas don't go through that. And I think right now there is a period of gentrification in this area. We're part of it.
Well, I mean, it's the gentry.
I think there's normal progress that occurs in any community.
They're coming into this neighborhood now. Now there's a reason for them to come in, and so it'll lead along further than that. Like, okay, cool. So there's a cool venue that's showing shows and has art and stuff.
And the arts, yes.
Lots of art push.
Then it pushes building developers more to see, more people are interested in this neighborhood because of artists or musicians, and they're like, this is cool. We can sell that.
I guess the things that made this neighborhood feel like home to me, the things that my parents and other people had created, were attractive to other people as well.
The neighborhoods here are more interesting, at least to us.
As renters, anything that we do to try to better our situation seems to only increase our precarity in a lot of ways.
Gentrification is definitely theft.
Gentrification. It's the fact that I can't afford to live in the neighborhood I grew up in. Over the next decade, I lived in about 8 different houses. Every time I moved into the most expensive place I had ever lived in. My friends moved farther and farther away from each other.
But I mean, it's a nice neighborhood. It's lovely. We have a lovely place. It's just not our first choice.
I won't say it doesn't have a community, but it's not our community. You know what I mean?
Why do you live here?
We can afford to. And
Yeah, and also, I mean, with rentals, you just don't have that much choice.
yeah,
Work that we do to create relationships between our neighbors that when we have to move to a suburb, we don't get that back.
This is called displacement.
Well, I don't think you need to displace people to gentrify an area.
How would you gentrify East Hastings without displacing those people?
I've lived in 3 different places before living here that went through a really intense crisis of gentrification. And in all those instances, I saw people try different tactics, ranging from making art about it, to smashing windows, to actively trying to engage with the city, to try and change regulations and bylaws. And I think fundamentally, as long as there is ownership of private property in this kind of incredibly inequitable way, and as long as we exist in the system that we exist in unchanged radically, it's going to be a process that helps people become wealthy, and we will continue to be victimized by it.
What do you think about living here? I know you can't talk into the mic, but what's your perspective on living here?
Yeah, I grew up a block away from here. So I now live a block away from the first house that I ever lived at, including the tree that my parents planted when I was born. But really, I can't afford to live here, and I probably won't be able to for much longer.